center. That is not
Hmm.
the right approach.
Okay.
In OKB9, you have an option to segregate by profit center or business area plant. Now, if I select it over here, I have an option business area or plant. I
Okay.
can I can give one, for this plant, this is a cost center. I can
Hmm.
keep that as well.
Now, suppose that if you have given different cost center in a KA02,
Hmm.
and you give in a different cost center against that cost element, different cost center. So which one system will
That's
pick
what I'm
first?
saying.
Oh,
OKB9 will be picked up first.
okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So OKB9 will be picked up first. OKB9 will have more priority. Now here
Okay.
I'm giving the cost element, and here I'm specifying on what basis I'm doing this.
Hmm.
Okay, here you can select based on valuation area or based on profit center. Of course, business area is not,
There.
no more. Okay, so if I select valuation area, select this and double click on this, now you have valuation area for this plant. For this is the cost center. You
Oh,
can
okay.
mention there. But whereas in the GL master, if you enter a cost center there,
Hmm.
irrespective of the plant, irrespective of the profit center, it will go and hit the same cost center. That is not the right approach.
Okay. So it is better not to just assign any cost center
Yes,
in a KA02.
exactly.
Then derivation rule will not be applied, right? Because from
Which
cost center,
derivation rule?
like if you are also going for a segment wise, right? Segment.
Hmm.
So from cost element, it derives cost center, from cost center, profit center to segment.
Hmm.
So if you wanted to, if you have, if you are document splitting based on the segment,
Hmm.
so how the segment will be derived?
See, the process is the same. There is no change in the process.
Hmm.
Okay, suppose I have segment 1, segment 2, segment 2.
Mhm.
Now, this segment 1 will be in profit center 1, segment 2
Mhm.
will be in profit center 2. Profit center 1 will be in cost center 1, cost center 2 will have profit center 2. The moment I consider CC1,
Mhm.
CC1 will have a profit center 1, in profit center master data will have a segment 1.
Right.
Now, in a transaction, if you have two cost centers, it
Mhm.
means you will have two segments.
Mhm.
Then if it is a document splitting at a segment level, it does accordingly. We don't have to do anything. It means you have two expenses and you have a bank account. So system what it does is first expenses one with segment one, then expenses two with segment two, and credit will be bank with segment one, credit bank with segment two. This is the same. There is no change in that. Since the document splitting as a segment level, so at segment level, system checks whether there are multiple segments. If multiple segments are there, it does the document splitting. That's it.
Yes, correct. I understand that, but like you said earlier, that it is not the right approach to define a cost center, to put the default cost center in a cost element in a KA02, because like if we are going with the segment, then we need to just put the cost center in a cost element in a KA02, right?
I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding. So there is no link between KS02 versus OKB9 with segment. Segment derivation is irrespective of KS02 or OKB9. If you have a cost center, in that cost center, if you have a profit center, and if you have a segment in that profit center, the moment you have a cost center in the transaction, system will derive profit center and accordingly the segment. Whether the cost center no, we got the cost center from KA02 or OK benign, it's immaterial. Once we have a cost center, that's it. Now, what's your question between KA02 and OK benign? Don't talk about segment because other will get confused. So
Okay.
the segment process, if it is a document, it's the same. There is no change in that. Now, my question is, what is your question between KA02 and OK benign?
Okay, which one get priority? That's what but you answer me that.
As I
Okay.
already, yeah, as
Yes.
I
Okay.
already
All right.
mentioned, OKB9 will have a priority,
Okay. All right. Okay.
right? And if at all you have any other, the substitution kind of thing, that will take a priority.
Okay.
Got it? Any
Yes,
other
sir.
questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's jump on to fixed assets. Okay, what this submodule talks about. This submodule deals about the fixed assets and the related transactions. Okay, so what kind of transactions normally we will have in the case of fixed assets? So what kind of transactions we will do with the fixed assets? First, we will procurement of fixed assets, right? Sale of fixed assets, depreciation on fixed assets, okay? Transfer of fixed assets. So I still have to create one more company code within this controlling area in order to discuss intercompany transactions, but we will discuss those topics, the missing topics, immediately after these fixed assets. So since I have not completed, I'm just pushing that. Okay, so procurement of fixed asset, sale of fixed asset, transfer of fixed asset, depreciation of fixed asset. Within the sale, we may sell it to outside parties or just we can scrap it. We have different scenarios, right? So these kind of transactions there in as part of the fixed assets, we normally see these kind of transactions. We are purchasing, we are utilizing, we are providing some depreciation, and at the end of the life we will sell it off or we will scrap it. Okay, so these are all the activities that we will take in any of the organization. So what are fixed assets? So firstly, you just need to understand what exactly the difference between current assets and fixed assets. Current assets are cash, bank, accounts receivable, all those things, receivable items and all those things. And it means these assets can be converted into cash very quickly. And you know these are the life normally will not have more than a year. So normally AR, it means when you are selling any goods, probably we may give 30 days, 60 days or 45 days or something, 90 days. The life of these assets will not be more than a year. So those are called current assets. So the two conditions, first is it gets converted into cash very quickly. The second is the life of these will not be more than a year. But in the case of fixed assets, these are also known as capital expenditure. Okay, this is also known as capital expenditure. All revenue expenses are nothing but our profit and loss expenses. So capital expenditures are nothing but fixed assets. So generally the life of these assets will be more than a year. Okay, it means when you procure a particular furniture, let's take an example. When we take when we procure fixtures or furnitures, we may use it for more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years or something. If the furniture has a life of less than a year, then we cannot consider that as a fixed asset. Still, we can consider that as a current asset since the life of that particular asset is less than a year. So it does not mean that if the moment I say furniture, it cannot be considered a fixed asset. Based on the life of the asset, we will have to consider that as a either a current asset or fixed asset. Now, so in what case we can say a fixed asset as a capital expenditure? Fixed asset is nothing but a capital expenditure. The expenses, the life of that expenditure is more than a year. It means I'm purchasing a furniture. It means I'm spending some amount on it. And if the life of that particular furniture is more than a year, then that is considered as a capital expenditure. If it is less than a year, then we will consider it as a revenue expenses. You can consider that as an expenses, or you can consider that as a current assets. Okay. Now, what exactly you will have to do between current assets or the revenue expenses versus capital expenditure? In the case of capital expenditure, I'll take one example. Let's say I have a plant in our in our manufacturing area. We have a plant which is costing 10 lakhs dollars. Okay, which is costing 10 lakh dollars, and the life of this is 10 years. Okay, life is 10 years. It means after 10 years, again we will have to go and buy this one, right? 10 lakh dollars. The amount is 10 lakh, and 10 lakh works for 10 years. Then what we will have to do? We will have to procure the same plant after 10 years, right? It has to be replaced after 10 years. So now in the year of, let's say we procured this in the year of 2000. It means in 2011, we will have to buy this asset. Maybe we can have the same value or maybe more or maybe less. That's fine. Okay, let's say 12 lakhs. In 2011, it is 12 lakh. Now, if I want to procure 12 lakhs in the year of 2011, it means